Hey guys, it's Mr. Dugal, and today we're going to talk about a phrase that you should tell yourselves each morning. And it's also a phrase that will help you to remember central interest. And that phrase is this equation right here. If we say this equation as an equal sign, this equation is something that you could tell yourself when you look in the mirror. And that is that I is Purdy. I is Purdy is a good way to remember that interest equals principal times rate times time. And that might seem intimidating at first, but the truth is that principal is just the amount that you invest. Interest is the amount you make. Rate is our percentage as a decimal. And time, well, time is time, and it's supposed to be in years. You could also view this as an amount owed. So it would be the dollars borrowed equals the dollars owed times the percent times the years. I'm going to give you an example of both. One where you're the one making the money, where you're making the interest, and one where you're the one owing interest. And we'll solve for that. All right, below we have our first question. And it states that Mr. Dugal invested $5,000 in ABC stock. If the stock had an interest rate of 8% annually, annually is a word that you'll see a lot when it comes to interest, and annually just means yearly. How much money did Mr. Dugal make from ABC stock over 15 years? So let's just plug in our equation here. You'll always be given 3 of the 4 things. In this case, we're given the amount invested, which we said earlier is P, the principal. So it'd be $5,000. We're also given, obviously, our rate, our percentage, and that's 8%. 8% to go from percent to decimal, we go left 2 spots, would be 0.08. Finally, we multiply by T, time, which is the number of years. And in this case, they tell us that the number of years is 15. So there we have it. It's just asking how much interest we make during that time. So we just do 5,000 times 0.08 times 15. Using our calculator, we find that that amount is Using our calculator, we find that amount to be $6,000. So I would make $6,000 in interest over 15 years by investing in that stock. So that's the amount that I would make. This is the first example when interest is a good thing. This example was also pretty simple because I was solving for I and not for one of these letters. We'll teach you how to do that in this next problem. All right, we're now switching gears into a situation where interest is not a good thing. It's something that I owe. So it's the second type of example where I'm borrowing money and I owe the money. So let's go through this and see what we have. Again, the equation is I is Purdy. I equals P times R times T. All right, Mr. Dugal owes $6,000 in credit card interest. If the card had an interest rate of 12% annually, yearly, how much money did Mr. Dugal borrow from the credit card company if he has been borrowing for 5 years? So, first things first, I need to identify which 3 of the 4 that I have. And it tells me this time that I owe $6,000. So this is actually the interest, and it does tell me later interest too. So $6,000 of interest. So that's going to go where I is this time. They didn't take it easy on us. Whenever they give us interest, there's an extra step involved compared to if I'm looking for interest. If the card had an interest rate of 12% annually, so this is my percent, so that's going to go in the middle there. 12% as a decimal is 0.12. How much money did Mr. Dugal borrow from the credit card company if he has been borrowing for 5 years? There's my time, which means I am solving for P. Okay, first things first, I'm going to do 0.12 times 5, which is 0.60. So P times 0.60 or 0.6 equals 6,000. When solving for algebraic equations, we do PEMDAS, our order of operations, upside down, and we do the inverse operations. When solving for a variable, we always do the inverse operation. We talked about this in previous lessons, and basically here they give us multiplication, so I'm going to divide. Because I'm multiplying by 0.6, if I divide by 0.60, 0.60 divided by 0.60 is just 1. So I'm just left with P on the right side. If I do that to my other side, I have 6,000 divided by 0.6. So P, the principal amount, the amount we borrowed, equals 6,000 divided by 0.6. And using a calculator, I find that 6,000 divided by 0.6 is exactly $10,000. So Mr. Dugal borrowed $10,000 from the credit card company, and now he owes them $6,000 for letting him borrow that money for 5 years at 12% interest. So that's how interest works. It's a good thing if I'm making the money, if I'm investing the money. It's a bad thing if I'm owing the money because I'm borrowing money. Remember the simple saying that I is Purdy, both for math purposes and for mere purposes. Both for math purposes and for mere purposes. Hopefully you find this equation help. Remember the equation I is Purdy, both for math purposes and every time you look in the mirror. This should help you in both areas of life. Hopefully this helps as a foundation for simple interest. Thanks so much for watching.